Your friend in Central Illinois. WHOW.
Top of the morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. The WHOW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. My guest on the Zoom today, Ed Shimon, National Weather Service in Lincoln. Ed, how are you, sir?
I'm doing great, Seth. Thanks for having me on.
We made it, Ed. We've made it to the summer. Golly, it was a slog of a spring. It really was.
Yeah, we had a lot of severe weather, all temperatures all over the place. Yeah, it was definitely, we're ready for summer to come.
Not a moment too soon.
The pools have been closed because it's been so cold the last part of May.
Yeah,
nobody's able to open.
What in the world is going on? It has been, I mean, it's been fine, you know, like if you're doing outdoor activities, it's been nice enough to be out, but it's not that typical like Memorial Day, we warm up and then we just kind of dive right into the summer. And that to that end as well, I thought we were supposed to be warm to end May. What is going on here, Ed?
Yeah, we just had a complete shift of where the hot air was setting up, and the pattern stagnated again with some really cool air over the Great Lakes, Illinois, and we just, just kind of, we're below normal. More than half the months we've been below normal. I looked at it, and we're averaging out below normal for May, and some of the days, well, every single day the last 9 days we've been below normal. We had one heat wave, the 15th, we hit the low 90s, which was great, and we thought, all right, summer's here. And then you looked at the 8 to 10 day outlooks, and you're like, uh-oh, it's showing colder than normal. So yeah, we just got into an unfortunate late spring cool spell here, and but we're going to start to warm up next week a little bit. Unfortunately, that's going to come with some storms. But
okay, looks like it's going to be a beautiful weekend as well. But before we get into that, Ed, let's recap May. Obviously we're a day away from the end of the month. So where are we at? Where are we at with temperatures? Where are we at with precip? How did things shake out in May?
Sure. Yeah, we started out cool. The first week and a half were below normal for the most part. And then we had the heat wave right around the middle of the month. That boosted us a little, but we're below normal overall for the month, about 1.5 degrees, 1.6 degrees below normal. So it's been a cool May. That's kind of slowed down some of the growth, but we did have enough moisture to keep us in par with. We're just a little below normal there too, about a half inch below normal. We're 3.65 in the amount of rainfall, but it came at enough breaks between them that it kept the soils from drying out too much. So we're doing good there. But yeah, May was below normal precip and below normal temperatures, which I'm not sure we had in the monthly outlook at the time. But that's the way it's settled out here, with the last part of the month really being below normal.
Interesting. I am surprised to hear we're below normal for precip, because it feels like we've had some, and not necessarily good rains, but it's been kind of dreary and cloudy, and you've seen some scattered rain roll through at times, even some severe weather a few times there in May. I'm surprised to hear we're below normal, Ed.
Right. Yeah. It was in pockets. I mean, DeWitt County, I looked at the Cocoa Raz map, and there's like 3.5 up towards Farmer City, and then 3.2 in Clinton with our Cocoa Raz observer there. But if you just drift a little bit southeast, Piatt County, 5 inches right along just east of Cisco there. So not too far away, 2 more inches of rain fell. It was really hit or miss with some of the heavier rains. But in general, we're doing good with 3.5. At least it's not going to start a drought like situation now, because we've got a decent amount of rain that actually soaked in. I don't think there was a lot of runoff, because the soils were, moderately dry to start with. So,
gotcha. How about severe weather in May, Ed? What did we see?
Yeah, we had more tornadoes that popped up. Let me look at my event summary page here. May 20th was probably the biggest event day of the month, but we had looks like 6 tornadoes in central Illinois. Nothing significant. Most of the damage was tree damage, a few outbuildings and whatnot, but certainly an active day. And then, of course, the dust storm day on the 16th was just a crazy day. We had severe weather, and then we had high wind warning, and then all of a sudden, oh yeah, you can't see because there's a 2,000 foot deep dust bowl rolling through Illinois. So that day was probably one of the most challenging weather days I've seen in Illinois for a long time. Really tough.
What made it so tough?
Well, when you got multiple moving parts, I mean, we had severe weather. So when we're in severe weather mode, you've got a radar operator, a radar communicator, incident commander, and you're focusing on severe weather. And all of a sudden, the antecedent winds come up to levels where we needed a wind warning. So we had that product to worry about, and then we get the wind warning out, and then we realize, it's dry enough that dust is getting picked up, and that's another focus. So you had like 3 focuses all at the same time. When severe weather is usually that's our game, right? Severe weather. Let's do severe weather. People can't see because of an outflow from a thunderstorm complex, and it's serious because we even had one of our ITO called in. He said, I can't see my windshield. I can see the glass of my windshield and nothing beyond that. I can't see the end of my hood. This is horrible. So then we were like, dust storm warning, let's get it out. And then we did that, told Chicago, we told North Webster Weather Service offices. We said, this is coming north and it's bad. So then they were able to get ahead of this thing, but we were ground zero. So getting ahead of that dust storm was very challenging, because you get a report, you're like, some dust getting picked up. Is it bad? I don't know. So we get a dust advisory out, and we're like, all right, we got it. Dust advisory is out. And then you hear how bad it really is, and we're like, no way. That's not enough. We need the WHOW to go out, the wireless emergency alert on people's phones that are driving. Need this warning. So then we send out the dust storm warning, which is a Polygon-based product, just like a severe thunderstorm warning, and then all those phones go off, and people are able to pull off the roads. And luckily, we did not have a major pileup, because there certainly could be. That was I-57, I-55, I-74. That could have been really bad dust event. So we dodged that bullet on that day.
And that was the 20th?
That was the 16th.
That was the 16th.
I think it was the 16th, yeah.
Yeah. There was a day I got this was really strange, Ed. I don't mean to kind of recollect here with you, but it was really strange. I'm pretty sure it was a Friday, if I'm not mistaken. It might have been the 16th. Now that you say that, there was I don't think it was the 16th, because the 20th I had softball and they moved it to the 21st. Anyways. Oh yeah, the 16th. They moved the game to 6 because of that dust storm you were talking about. It had to be the next week. There was like there was a tornado warning that was issued for DeWitt County, but like I could see like on the radar, the storm was like in Mount Pulaski. I got the notification on my phone. It was super weird. It was around like 3:00. I was on my way to get my kids from school. And I turned around because I figure with a tornado warning, they're not going to have kids outside, even though like there's no rain, there's no wind at this point. It was a bizarre day. And like the storm like split around Clinton. Do you remember that? I'm trying to remember what day that was.
Yeah.
I don't even remember.
Yeah, I'm not sure which day that was now. Yeah, it might have been the 14th. I think we had some warnings then.
Okay. Yeah, either way, it was really strange. It was really strange. And I realized you could control like what alerts go straight to phones and stuff like that. So
it's an agreement between the Federal Communications Commission, the FCC, and FEMA, which products alert on that wireless emergency alert. And they added dust storm warnings because of how impactful, because when you have zero visibility, that's just like a blizzard. It's like, dense fog, except the dust storm happens so quickly,
right?
And you can't really even see that it's coming until it's there. So,
that's
one thing that we are really happy that we have available as a tool. We don't trigger them. It's outside of the office. We issue the product, and the chips are in place to actually trigger those phones.
Got it.
So.
Well, May was an adventure. There's no question about it. So I'll tell you what, Ed Shimon, National Weather Service in Lincoln, our guest on the Zoom today. Ed, let's dive into the weekend. What are we looking at for this weekend? It looks like it's going to be awfully nice.
Oh, man. Yeah, it's going to be a banner weekend. I mean, we average around 81 at the end of May, and we're going to have 81 Saturday, 82 Sunday. A slight chance of some rain on Saturday afternoon. I'm not too worried about that. That's going to be really more dry than wet. But banner weekend. Get outdoors, enjoy it. And then we're starting to actually warm up even a little bit more into next week. So, if anybody's heading out to a vacation, we'll be in the upper 80s on Monday and Tuesday. So that's getting hot. That's where you're going to start to see humidity creep up, and some outdoor events. You're going to need to really front load with water and then be mindful of heat related issues there.
Gotcha. All right, Ed. Well, let's dive into what's the first part of June hold for us for weather. Breakdown next week, the first maybe 10 days or so, 10, 14 days. What are we looking at?
Yeah, well, that heat wave is going to get broken with a cold frontal passage, and that looks to come in probably midweek around Wednesday or so. So we've got some severe weather outlooks already creeping into some of the modeling systems. So we're trying to figure out the timing of that front and if it's going to be impactful, during the day on Wednesday. It looks like the 4th and 5th of June are probably the biggest threat zones there. So we'll have to be mindful of that. They're already, looking at a tornado threat in the plains when that front's moving through there on Tuesday. So we'll have to see if that translates into Illinois with the same type of wind shear patterns there. But beyond that, then we cool down again, but not too far below normal. By Wednesday, 81. Thursday's below normal at 77. So, and the 6 to 10 day outlook does show just slightly cooler than normal in the western half of Illinois. So, we're still going to be reacting to that cold frontal passage for a little bit in early June. But then some warmer temperatures should eventually settle in probably towards the middle of the month. But all the way through the 12th, we're kind of near normal or slightly below normal in June. So, that heat we're going to get next week is probably going to be as warm as we're going to get until maybe, this next pattern breaks as we head into the last part of June.
Wow. What is June overall telling us, Ed, for temperatures? Again, remind us sounds like we start in the low 80s. Where do we end up at the end of June? Let's break down some of that.
Yeah. The outlook for the whole month is showing above normal for temperatures and equal chances for precip. So, we probably will have ebb and flow in the amount of rain we get, but we're probably going to see a little bit warmer than normal for the last half of the month so we can counterbalance that cooler start. And where we end up usually in June here, let me take a quick peek. Yeah, June starts out with 80 for a normal high and ends the month about 86 for a normal high. So we don't change a lot there, but in the 80s, very comfortable, pretty hot on some days, but low temperatures start at 58 and then end up at 64. So we rise 6 degrees throughout the month in terms of our normals there.
Mm-hmm.
Through the June timeframe.
When you see above normal temperature trend, does that tell you the days are going to get hot or the nights are not going to get as cool?
Most of the time, that's the days getting hotter, in the summertime especially. But even that, it's a combination. I shouldn't say just the highs, but yeah, those lows when we don't get out of the 70s some nights, that really makes a big difference because we usually cool off pretty quickly at night, and if there's some abnormally warm lows, that'll tip the balance pretty quickly as well. So
sure.
The last half of the month, I would expect some 90s here late June. I'm seeing an indication out west of really high heat building, and that's going to translate east in the last half of the month. I'm pretty sure, just looking at the jet stream patterns here.
Okay.
So we could be seeing some maybe up near 100 already before the end of June, and that's going to hurt a little bit.
Gonna be a warm one. Yeah. Did you get to precip, Ed? I feel like I cut you off before you got there.
No, yeah. June normally has a 4.16 rainfall amounts, and we're equal chances in the outlook. And with the cooler start to the month, we may be a little below normal by the time we get to the middle of the month. But I think we're going to probably see some storm systems rolling through as we head into that heat and that transition zone here. So
yeah,
look for some impactful storms when you transition between two air masses. Usually that brings with it some stormy weather.
Sure. How about severe weather in June? Is it as great of a threat as March, April, May?
Yeah, when we're colder than normal in the beginning, I'm not looking for real intense severe weather. The strong severe weather comes when the dew points are creeping into the 60s or low 70s. That's when the atmosphere is primed to produce storms that are, able to produce that severe weather threat in the summertime. And I'm not seeing that until, after at least, the middle of June here at this point. So severe weather threat should probably be really quite diminished in the first part of the month after this first cold front goes through anyway, on the 4th, 3rd, 4th, 5th of the month there.
Okay. Very good, Ed. Anything on June catching your eye we haven't touched on? I don't know how much more of an outlook how much more detailed the outlooks get for you, but like I said, anything catching your eye for June we didn't touch on?
Nothing yet, although June 1st is the start of tropical weather season. And the Hurricane Center is looking at, I think, near normal hurricane season. So usually the early season storms only stay further southwest. But as we get through the middle of summer, sometimes those tropical storms can come into the Gulf. Because once the Gulf of Mexico warms up, then some of those tropical systems can come into the central part of the Gulf states and drift right up into Illinois. So we always kind of monitor that a little bit, because we've had some flooding events from tropical systems that drifted into Illinois before. So but right now, nothing's imminent. I think the first storm is getting named out just west of in the Pacific side of Mexico.
I saw that the other day, in fact. Very good. Ed Shimon, National Weather Service in Lincoln, my guest on the Zoom. More to come with Ed on the morning show.
WHOW.
For more information. Let's check the markets now on the RFD Radio Network. I'm Jim Taylor. Corn steady, beans lower, wheat slightly lower. July corn down 1/4, 446 3/4. September corn down 1 3/4, 425 1/2. December corn 439 1/2, down 1 3/4. July beans down 7 1/4, 1044 1/2. August beans down 8 1/2, 1040. November new crop 1028 3/4, down 8 1/2. July wheat 532 down 2. September wheat down 2 1/4, 546 1/2. July bean meal 297.30, that's up 90 cents. July bean oil 47.07, down $1.32. Livestock market August feeders $300.25, up 32 cents. June live cattle up 75 cents, 216.30. June lean hogs 152, up 50 cents. Energy market, July crude oil 60.34.
ServPro of Piatt DeWitt Counties continues its exclusive sponsorship of the WHOW Clinton Maroon Player of the Game, announced at the end of every Maroon sports broadcast. Our WHOW announcers will select that night's WHOW ServPro of Piatt DeWitt County's Clinton Maroon Player of the Game. They'll be highlighted in each WHOW Maroon post-game broadcast and get a certificate from WHOW and ServPro of Piatt DeWitt Counties, your fire, storm, and water restoration specialists. Click their icon at DeWittDailyNews.com.
If you've got allergies this season, we have relief. CEO Paul Scarron here from Warner Hospital and Health Services in Clinton. Come to our walk-in clinic inside our family medicine. No appointment, no problem. See our icon at DeWittDailyNews.com.
DeWittDailyNews.com is the area's leading local news source 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Get the latest local news, obituaries, police blotter, weather forecast, and more with no paywall. Head to DeWittDailyNews.com to get the local information you need to know.
Your friend in Central Illinois, WHOW.
Once again, good morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. Ed Shimon, National Weather Service in Lincoln, my guest on the Zoom today. Hey, Ed, let's talk summer outlooks. What's I know June you mentioned above normal temps, about the same for outlook for precipitation. June, July, August, traditional summer months. What are they telling us? What do the outlooks have?
Yeah, we're tipped towards above normal temperatures, although it's just in that first category of 33 to 40% above normal is above normal. So that takes away a little bit from the below normal part of the pie there. But real heat showing up out west. So while the overall summer may not be showing a significant trend towards above normal, there's probably going to be some days in there that we creep up towards 100 degrees. Precip wise just shows a corridor of equal chances right through the middle of the country, although below normal is lurking just all through the upper Midwest and towards the Pacific Northwest. So some dry weather out west, and that usually spells we're probably not going to see as many storm tracks coming through. The East Coast is the only area that's really showing above normal precip for the summer. So hopefully that doesn't spell an early onset of some drought type of soil conditions, but we'll have to monitor that pretty closely and get the word out if we see some of that starting to develop.
Gotcha. July temperatures probably start and end pretty close to the same number, right?
Yeah, they don't change much actually. Yeah, it's 86 for the high, normal high at the start of the month, and 85 at the end of the month. So And then lows are 64 and at the start and 63 at the end of the month. So July is our kind of pretty uniform from start to finish there. And precip wise, one of our wettest months, almost 5 inches of rain normally there in the month of July. So
Oh, wow.
yeah,
Really?
just hot and typically humid time of the summer.
Gotcha. Did you get to precip on the outlooks? I apologize if you didn't. I missed it.
Yeah. Equal chances of above or below normal precip with dry conditions just to our west. So yeah, we'll have to hopefully get enough rain to keep stave off any kind of drought conditions that may set up. Usually that's in the August, September, drier periods where we start to see some of the drought type setup. But hopefully we'll get periodic rains and keep things rolling for the farmers.
Sounds good, Ed. Well, I'll tell you what, when it comes to summer and severe weather, I know that largely is kind of pop-up showers and storms at that point, correct?
Right. Yeah. That's the most challenging part of summer severe weather is, if you look up and you see a cloud forming, probably going to get rain in an hour because that's the models really have a challenge to try and pinpoint where storm systems are because there's not a lot of big cold fronts coming through. It's just the air mass starts heating up. You're going to get some, storms developing and some of them severe. So it makes it more difficult for us to predict where you're going to get that rain.
What about our typical fall months? September, October, even a little bit of November. What are we? Any indication what we're in store for yet at this point?
Sure. Yeah, we can glance back down into fall, September, October, November. Above normal temperatures there, and actually a tick higher, 50 to 60% chance there in some spots of Illinois. So looking mild, equal chances for rainfall, although the below normal precip signal is still like Iowa, Minnesota, Dakotas. Hopefully, stays over there and we don't really see below normal here. So we can keep having rejuvenating moisture hit the ground here periodically and even into the fall. So it's looking good above normal, all the way through. And then as we look into the winter, equal chances. That's the first one that shows December, January, February, equal chances above or below normal temps.
So really at this point, we don't know.
But at least no significant cold.
Got it.
For any long periods of time there.
Sure. Ed, we've gotten to a lot today. Are folks able to digest a lot of what we've talked about? Is there the data you've discussed at the Weather Service website? How do they find it?
Yeah, it's weather.gov/Lincoln. And you got anything you can find there.
Very good. Ed, always good to talk to you, my friend. We'll catch you soon.
You bet. Thanks, Seth.
Ed Shimon, National Weather Service in Lincoln, my guest on the Zoom for this morning. The morning show streams to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. Network news comes your way next on the WHOW Morning Show.